Bourbon, bluegrass, and the Bible.
Look, I'm from Kentucky. There are very few things that are more sacred in the state of Kentucky than basketball. But this morning, and I want to point out, we're a little crazy about it. You know, Exodus 90 is coming up in a few days, and one of the hardest parts to get people into Exodus 90 is having them give up TV during March Madness. It's just not going to happen. If the Exodus guys are listening to this, please adjust that. Allow people to have a couple hours a week to watch a game, because it's tough. That being said, I was on the way to school this morning, dropped my kids off, and I heard something on the radio. And it was a really touching thing, and I'm glad they were talking about it. And there were some good things coming out of it. But then they used this as an opportunity to break down another coach, and I want to talk about it here. So Kentucky has two new coaches at the premier schools in our state. The two big schools in Kentucky for college basketball are, of course, the greatest basketball program ever, the University of Kentucky, and you can quote me on that, and then the University of Louisville, who is our also rival at UK. Now, my wife works at U of L, so I don't hate U of L all the time like a lot of Kentucky fans. I'm really glad Pat Kelsey's there. I think he's a really awesome guy. I'm glad that the rivalry is healthy again, because I think it's good for both of us. And I love Mark Pope. I think he's a great pick for Kentucky. I was a little apprehensive at first, but he's a great guy. I actually interacted with him once when I was a kid. He was a really friendly guy. I think he's genuinely just a nice guy, and I think he's kind of the perfect guy to kind of right the ship after John Calipari left. That being said, he did something this week, and these radio hosts used it as an opportunity to tear down Coach Cal for something good that Mark Pope did. So let's take a look at what Mark did, and let's talk about what the reaction was.
Yes, sir. How we doing, baby? How are you, my friend? I'm in great.
Now, this is great. I love that this is the kind of guy Mark Pope is. He takes time to talk to the fans. There was one night a few weeks back he didn't have time to stay for the after-game little presser down on the court at Rupp Arena, and there were about 100 people. This was one of the early games, one of those warm-up, tune-up games, and so a lot of people didn't stay for that one, but he couldn't stay. He actually called the ice cream shop. There's this really famous little ice cream stand in Rupp Arena. Everybody has to get it. If you ever watch ESPN's coverage of UK basketball, Jay Billis always gets an ice cream brought to him by the cheerleaders because he raves about this ice cream. So anyway, long story short, Mark Pope set up his credit card and said, hey, everybody that stayed behind, get him an ice cream on me. Which was a really cool thing to do. Like, he didn't have to do that. This guy, he's an alum. He played on a championship team in '96. He's so happy to be coaching his alma mater. I think that's amazing. But then the radio host used this example as a way to tear down our previous coach, Coach Cal. And they were really excited because Pat Kelsey, who's now the new coach at Louisville's been in a slump. Pat Kelsey has got them back competitive. I think it's great. Pat Kelsey's got that same kind of like flair and energy. They're not, Kelsey and Cal and Mark Pope are three different personalities, but they're all cool in their own little way. And that's cool. I like that. Now, when Cal comes back with Arkansas next month, am I going to cheer against Cal? Absolutely. But I want to defend Coach Cal right now because the radio host was like, well, you would see Coach Cal at Mass, or he would say after a press conference, like, well, what are you going to do tomorrow, Coach? He'd be like, well, I'm going to get up and go to Mass. And he was only doing that to get like social credit points. And I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. Now, I lived in Lexington for like 10 years. I would go to daily Mass down at the cathedral, which is where Cal went most of the time. I saw Cal there on weekday Masses in the morning. Okay? No reporters, no UK, he's not there with, Mitch Barnhart or anybody. He's not getting anything. He was just going to Mass because what a good Catholic does is they go to Mass periodically. They add an extra Mass here or there. Maybe he was doing a novena, and part of that discipline for that novena was go to Mass one extra time during those 9 days. You don't know what Cal was doing. My family used to go to the SEC tournament every year. I have 7 siblings. Not all of us went, but like a bunch of us would go with my dad and my mom. It was second Christmas to me as a kid. That is my best memories are my whole family going to the SEC tournament together, like going down to Atlanta. So we would go to Mass on the Saturday night vigil Mass between the sessions at the SEC tournament. So we were in Atlanta, or Catlanta, as we used to call it back in the day. But now we would go to Mass, and guess who would be at Mass during that session? Because he didn't have a game at that time. It was Coach Cal. He would come out and he would shake the priest's hand and be very thankful for, hey, thank you for saying Mass. That coach didn't know him. He's probably a Georgia Tech fan. He's in Atlanta. He doesn't know. He might not even know who Coach Cal is. Might not care about basketball. But he would sit out in front and he would shake hands with all of us UK fans and say, thank you for making the trip. Thank you for supporting the team. I'm glad to see you here. He would always look at my dad like, my mom, like doing a good job with these kids because they got 7 kids with their grandkids. We're all at Mass during a basketball tournament. We made that effort, and I always loved that about Cal. He would come to my hometown, Bardstown, where I'm at now. He would always go to Mass at the Basilica here in Bardstown when he came down during the summer to host a little basketball camp here at the high school. Cal was not a bad man. I want to be very clear. We kind of, as a fan base, got a little crazy. People would like sit in front of his house. He'd be walking a dog, and somebody would yell at him like, man, what were you thinking at that call? And I get it. We had not gone deep in the tournament for a few years. That is not okay with a Kentucky fan. But at the end of the day, Cal is still a man. Cal is allowed to make changes and mistakes and choices for his family. I'm a little sad how it went down. When he left, like I said, it's like a family member left. Like, I'm sad because seeing him at church was like seeing your uncle at Christmas that you don't see all the time. He's gone now. Like, it's like he divorced my aunt and I'm not going to see him anymore. And I'm a little bummed by that. That being said, I don't think we should take the good that Mark Pope does and tear down Coach Cal just because we're upset that he's coaching an opposing team now. Am I going to cheer against him when the game comes up in a couple of weeks? Absolutely. I'm hoping Cal comes back in and gets a little bit of payback for leaving in the middle of the night. But Cal left because there were things here that weren't working anymore, and we've landed a good coach. Why are we going to disparage the man? Like, Kentucky's actually doing pretty well right now, and the great thing is we're not like just dominating on recruiting, but we're still doing pretty good. There's excitement around that. Like, there's the unknown of we don't have all the first top 10 recruits anymore, but we're still playing at a top 10 level. That to me is just as exciting, if not more. I don't keep up with recruiting because I'm like, till they lace up the shoes for that first game of the season, I'm not losing sleep over it. I got other things I got to be doing. But at the end of the day, I'm sad Cal's gone. But I hope Cal nothing but the best. If I see Cal at Mass, if I go to Little Rock for travel one day and Cal is at Mass, I'll probably be wearing my UK blue. And I will go up and say, thank you for all you did at Kentucky. Thank you for being a good example of faith, because I saw you at church all the time, and I could look at my kids and go, there's Kentucky's coach. He's at Mass. And I know Mark Pope is a man of faith, too. I think he's Mormon. I think he goes to whatever I think they call it. No, it's not temple, but whatever it is, I'm not going to get into the theology here right now. We can have that discussion later. But I think he's a moral man. I think Pat Kelsey, I don't know where he stands, but I'm glad he's at Louisville. And I hope we can all look at them and go, look at the good they do and have a little charity for when they fall short. Or when they do good, let's not look at it as a suspect, because that's not healthy for anybody. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I heard that this morning. I had a comment on it. I hope you guys are having a great day. I hope you will look at others with charity when they need it. And I hope you keep aging towards perfection. Have a great one.
Urban bluegrass and the Bible.